The Arrowverse has produced 20 seasons in their 4 main shows of Arrow the Flash, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow, and each one of these seasons has a main villain. In this video, I will be looking at all of these main villains in the Arrowverse and ranking them from least to most powerful. I'll go over all their powers, or lack thereof, and say why I think they deserve to be in the place that they are at on the list. Also, as a note, last time I did this, number 1 was the Legion of Doom, because there are multiple people, and because in the last 2 episodes they had the reality-altering Spear of Destiny, which isn't really fair because of the fact that they are multiple people. It's really hard to determine if they are more powerful than other characters because they can team up and they have the powers of multiple characters. So, for all intents and purposes, they are at number 1, but for this list, I will not be including them because last time I did this, people kind of complained about the fact that the Legion of Doom are in the first place, and I kind of agree, but I also don't agree, so I'll just knock them off the list, and I'll just rank the other 19 villains. So with that in mind, let's start this list right here.
Justin Claiborne, you have failed this city. Not as badly as you have, Mr. Queen.
Prometheus is a prime example of why a villain doesn't need to be powerful to be a good villain. Although Prometheus is on the top of my favorite main villains list, I'll be the first to admit that he is at the bottom of the most powerful. He has no superpowers, he's smart, but not at a superhuman level, and nowhere near superhuman level at all. He isn't rich or powerful in that sense at all, and the only position of power he has is the district attorney position, which is something, and definitely let him do things that he couldn't have done otherwise and get close to Oliver as well, but that doesn't really take him out of the last place in this list. Again, I don't think this is a bad thing for this character at all. In fact, it worked really well.
Wonder how that got there.
So you were never under duress.
Sorry to disappoint you, but that's what family does, right?
This is the reason that Archer isn't working?
I couldn't let you and your team get in the way again.
We don't give up.
Emiko Queen doesn't have any powers, but she does have full control of the Ninth Circle and all of its members, which is definitely something, and I would say it's more than a district attorney position, but based off what we've seen on the show, or at least on screen, the Ninth Circle is not all that powerful. They don't seem like they have a lot of power and influence in Star City or the world. They definitely have a little bit, but not from what we've seen. It doesn't really seem like much, so because of that, Emiko is very low on this list.
Last Christmas, I almost killed you. A few months ago, you saved my life. And now you're here trying to kill me. You should make up your mind.
Done.
Malcolm Merlyn and Batman have the exact same superpower, and that is money. Malcolm Merlyn is a billionaire. He's the CEO of Merlyn Global, which is a billion-dollar company. The money allowed Merlyn to do a lot of things that he would not be able to do otherwise. It makes him very powerful, a lot more powerful than the average human being. Again, for this list, in the scope of things, it's not much, but it definitely, I think, is more than the Ninth Circle and the district attorney position that Prometheus has.
You want to shoot me? Do it! Right here! See, that's your problem. It's always been your problem.
And capping off the powerless villains of the Arrowverse is Ricardo Diaz, who gains control of the entire Star City underworld by the time he becomes main villain, and gains control of Star City as a whole near the end of the season. He was the most powerful of the powerless Arrowverse main villains, and as such is right here at number 16. Now, I know he does kind of have super strength in Season 7 because of the drug, but this is only for Season 6, and it doesn't count anything from Season 7. As leader of the League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul had full control over them, which is definitely a lot of power on its own, but Ra's al Ghul also frequently bathes in the Lazarus Pit, giving him longevity akin to immortality. I think he's like 500 years old or something, letting him live for a very long time, but it definitely doesn't stop him from being killed, which is why he's lower than the number 14 slot.
Hello, Sarah. You're wasting your bullets.
Slade Wilson is enhanced by the Mirakuru, giving him enhanced senses and enhanced strength, as well as an accelerated healing factor that seems to prevent any sort of aging or other possible causes of death, unlike the Lazarus Pit, giving Ra's al Ghul a longevity but not necessarily immortality, and it doesn't stop him from dying. Slade Wilson seems to be unkillable unless if you give them a cure. On top of that, he also has control of the mayor of Star City in Sebastian Blood, and he has an entire Mirakuru army by the end of the season.
So you take after your mother, huh? Or not?
Vandal Savage is an immortal who, much like Slade Wilson, seems unkillable, except for one thing, which for Slade Wilson it's the cure. For Vandal Savage, it's being killed by Hawkman or Hawkgirl. The reason he is higher than Slade Wilson is because although they have a very similar immortality in the fact that they are unkillable except for one thing, Vandal Savage also has control of the entire world in the future, giving him an edge over Deathstroke. Socata version 2 was an even stronger version of Socata than her uncle, with the same powers of control over the lightning dagger, which is essentially a very sharp Mjolnir in how it works and the fact that it generates electricity. On top of that, she has super strength, can fly, she can manipulate dark matter, which the original Socata cannot, and she can cancel any metahuman powers in close proximity, which means although she can probably beat all the metahumans on this list, she's still considered less powerful even though she can beat them, because going up against any non-metahuman, she has less of an advantage. She just has basically, she's strong against metahumans, but she's not as powerful as those metahumans, in my opinion.
For the Earth.
For the Earth.
Raya is essentially a very powered-down Kryptonian. She has super strength, invulnerability, and could fly, and on top of that, she has control over the entire Daxamite fleet, which definitely grants her some sort of edge on this list. That being said, she is easily the weakest of the Supergirl villains and the weakest of the alien Kryptonian villains and things like that on this list.
Is that all you got?
It seems you've much in common with the Arrow. You're both dead.
Damian Darhk is a lot higher than the rest of the villains from Arrow, which is not really a good thing for the villain or that season. Regardless, Damian Darhk is very powerful. He can absorb the life force out of anyone while holding them in place with his telekinesis. He also has an accelerating healing factor and longevity, and I'm pretty sure he's a couple hundred years old, much like Ra's al Ghul. He has control of the Hive organization and all the ghosts as well, making him by far the most powerful villain that the Green Arrow, or at least in Star City and not in crossovers, has ever faced.
Do you remember me, little girl?
You're Astra's husband.
To think that you're the last daughter of the once great House of El.
You're gonna wish I died with the rest of them.
Non is your standard Kryptonian supervillain with all the same powers as Superman and the titular Supergirl: invulnerability, heat vision, X-ray vision, super speed, super strength, super breath, or frost breath, whichever one you want to call it, and supervision, just to name a few. He's also the general of a couple other Kryptonians that were all prisoners with him in Fort Roz, definitely making him a little bit more powerful than just a regular Kryptonian villain, but still he is number 9 on this list.
You didn't.
I'm sorry, love. It was his choice.
Finish it off, John.
Gladly.
Neuron is basically a powered-up Damian Darhk. Not only does he have the life force absorption as well as the telekinesis parts, he also has super strength and the ability to possess other people and open portals to hell, making him a little bit higher than not only Damian Darhk but also Non, because I don't think Non can really defeat Neuron in a fight or really do as much damage as Neuron because of the other abilities that he has over Damian Darhk.
Much more than this, I did it my way.
Lex Luthor is impressively high on the list in spite of being just a human being. Not only does he possess a genius-level intellect on the verge of superhuman and billions of dollars, he also has the Lexosuit, and he takes the Harrenel as well. The Lexosuit gives him the ability to fly, project and shoot energy, as well as form shields made out of that energy. The suit also gives him enhanced strength and durability, and it has a kryptonite sword to boot. The Harrenel gives him Kryptonian powers of invulnerability, super strength, durability, healing factor, flight, as well as other Kryptonian abilities we never see him use, like X-ray vision, super hearing, heat vision, super breath or frost breath, and a lot more, making him a lot more powerful than he should be as just a human being.
Judgment. And death. And I will reign.
Rain is a very powered-up Kryptonian with even more powers. On top of the super strength, invulnerability, X-ray vision, super speed, super breath, etc., which all seems to be powered up by the fact that we saw her beat up Supergirl so easily that she has to be way more powerful. Rain also has an added Black Canary-like sonic cry, as well as retractable poisonous claws, which she took from the other two World Killers, making her the most powerful villain that Supergirl has ever faced outside of crossovers.
Run, Barry. Run!
And thus begins the Speedsters, who are some of the most powerful beings in the universe. Zoom possesses a Speed Force connection, letting him run at super speeds nearing the speed of light. Zoom can generate and throw lightning, create whirlwinds, time travel, travel through dimensions and universes, vibrate through solid objects, create speed mirages, and he possesses an accelerating healing factor. The reason he's the least powerful Speedster is because he's clearly slower than Sabotage, and ReverseFlash has an extra power that Zoom and Sabotage do not. Sabotage is without a doubt the fastest villain that the Flash has ever faced, as after getting faster than Zoom, Barry was overwhelmed by Sabotage's immense speed. Sabotage has all the same abilities as Zoom, with the Speed Force connection letting him run at superhuman speeds nearing the speed of light, as well as all the other side powers that super speed gives a character. He is also a lot faster than Zoom, which gives him an edge over him, but the reason he is lower than ReverseFlash, well, I got to that right now.
I'm always one step ahead. It is your destiny to lose to me, Flash. Just as it was your mother's destiny to die that night.
ReverseFlash has all the same powers as Zoom and Sabotage, although he does seem to be slower, at least in the first season. The reason he gets an edge over those two is because, instead of being connected to the Speed Force, he is connected to the negative Speed Force, which gives him all the exact same powers, or at least we expect that it would, but also an additional power of being immune to being erased from existence, which explains how he keeps coming back. ReverseFlash technically does not exist, but he still does. This was retconned in in Season 5, and in the finale they explained that he is immune to being erased from existence. This means that he has gotta be higher than Sabotage, because Sabotage, when he was defeated, he was erased from existence, and he was gone forever, while ReverseFlash basically recovered from the exact same thing, meaning he's a lot more resilient and durable than Sabotage. Although he is slower, I think I would place him over Sabotage because of this additional power. Although he is a lot slower than Zoom, I would put Zoom under Sabotage because he doesn't have any additional powers and he is clearly slower, but I also can't put Zoom over the ReverseFlash because then they would both be over Sabotage. So I put this list in the order, or the speedsters in the order, Zoom, then Sabotage, then ReverseFlash, and I think that is the best order now that we know the negative speed force is a thing.
Like the gods of Olympus made manifest.
Malice is higher than the speedsters because in Legend of Tomorrow Season 3, it didn't seem like Kid Flash could really do anything to Malice, and that just made Malice seem way more powerful than any speedster can become. With that being said, Malice is just like Neuron. He's an immortal demon with the ability to possess humans. He is, however, much more powerful than Neuron in the exact same powers, and on top of that, he can bring people back from the dead, he can fly, he could generate and shoot fire out of his hands, and he seems to be a lot more powerful in combat, as Neuron was defeated by a single regular spell from Constantine, while Malice needed to be defeated by just one thing, which is the 6 totems. So basically, if there was another Malice who was not able to be defeated by 6 totems, he probably would be in the #1 slot, but he does have that one weakness, keeping him from #1, which easily goes to... The Thinker is, without a doubt, one of the most powerful beings in the Arrowverse. DeVoe starts off with superhuman intelligence and builds on that, creating the bus metas, which in turn he gains like a dozen or so extra abilities. Those powers being dimensional manipulation, effigy animation, elasticity, which also includes being invulnerable to everything except for acids, as well as he can shapeshift. He also can manipulate gravity, size, luck, technology, sound, and DNA. He is also telepathic, and last but not least, he can create tears, which basically act as drugs, making him basically an unstoppable force that is without a doubt the most powerful main villain in the Arrowverse, except for the Legion of Doom when they have the Spear of Destiny, which again, technically those guys would be #1, but they are a lot more than one person, so it wouldn't really be fair, making the Thinker the most powerful singular main villain that the Arrowverse has ever seen. So anyway, that is my list of all of the main villains in the Arrowverse, ranked from least to most powerful. Let me know in the comments down below if you think the list should be a little bit different. Did I make some mistakes? Do you think that the list is actually perfect? Let me know in the comments, and if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.